السرية العسكرية، مدرسة الاتحاد الخاصة، التدريب الرياضي العسكري. من سارع الخطوة الله إلى الأمام سارعا. الله سرية تاهية إلى الأمام معتدل سر. سرية قف إلى اليسار در. أقسم بالله العظيم أن نحافظ على هذا العلم مرفوعا عاليا. اتحاد إماراتنا عشت لشعب دين الإسلام، حدي القرآن حصنتك بسم الله يا وطن. بلادي 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 بلاد حماك الله شرور الزمان. أقسمنا أن نعمل نخلص مهما عشنا نخلص الأمان وعاش العالم يا إماراتنا. حمزة العروبة كل ما نفديك بالدماء نرويك، نفديك بالأرواح يا وطن. سرية تاهية إلى اليمين در. من سارع الخطوة الله إلى الأمام سارعا.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق، خلق الإنسان من علق. اقرأ وربك الأكرم الذي علم بالقلم، علم الإنسان ما لم يعلم. كلا إن الإنسان ليطغى أو أمر بالتقوى بالناصية ناصية كاذبة خاطئة فليدع ناديه سندع الزبانية كلا لا تطعه واسجد واقترب صدق الله العظيم.
على العرض المميز، وشكرا للطالب سيف الرحمن من أكاديمية باكستان التعليمية على هذه التلاوة العطرة. Thank you to the students from Al-Ittihad Private School, Al-Mimzar, for their excellent performance, and thanks to Saif al-Rahman from Pakistan Education Academy for his beautiful recitation from the Holy Quran. أصحاب السعادة، السيدات والسادة، الضيوف الكرام، حياكم الله. يسعدنا أن نرحب بكم اليوم في حدث معا نرتقي بالعلوم والرياضيات، الملتقى الثاني لهذا العام الدراسي ضمن سلسلة معا نرتقي. Your Excellencies, esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen, we are excited to welcome you to Wetworks Math and Science, the second Wetworks event of this year. قبل أن نبدأ أود التنويه إلى بعض الأمور. Before we start, I would like to draw your attention to a few things. تنعقد هذه الجلسة باللغة العربية، فمن يريد ترجمة إلى تنعقد هذه الجلسة باللغة الإنجليزية، فمن يريد ترجمة إلى اللغة العربية فما عليه إلا رفع يده، وسيقوم أحد صناع الحدث بتسليمه سماعات للترجمة الفورية. This session will be in English. If you need translation to Arabic, please raise your hand and an event maker will get you a headset. تتوفر خدمة الشبكة اللاسلكية واي فاي في هذا المكان، حيث يمكنكم الاتصال بشبكة guest المتوفرة. Wi-Fi is available throughout the venue, so you can connect through using guest connection. تحظى آراؤكم وملاحظاتكم باهتمامنا، فلا تترددوا في إنفاق دقائق من وقتكم لملء الاستبانة الإلكترونية المتوفرة في موقع معا نلتقي www.whatworks.ae لتقييم حدث هذا اليوم. Your feedback is very important to us, so please take time to fill the online survey about today on Whatworks website, which is www.whatworks.ae. البرنامج الدولي لتقييم الطلبة بيزا هو امتحان القياس الذي يختبر قدرة الطلاب في جميع أنحاء العالم من عمر 15 في استخدام القراءة والكتابة والرياضيات والمهارات العلمية في تطبيقات الحياة. The Program for International Student Assessment, or PISA, is a benchmarking examination which tests the ability of 15-year-old students from around the world in using their literacy, mathematics and scientific skills in life applications. ربما شاهدتم الإعلان عن النتائج لبيزا 2012 خلال عقد نهاية الأسبوع في الصحف، ولكننا نعلم أننا نستطيع تحقيق المزيد من هذه النتائج، ومن الاستنتاجات الرئيسية لهذا إعلان نتائج 2013 لبيزا أنه يجب علينا التركيز على دعم وزرع حب القراءة في أبنائنا، فالمعرفة هي المفتاح. You might have seen the announcement of UAE's PISA 2012 result in the press over the weekend, but we know that we can do even better. The main findings in that for our scores to improve is that we must focus on supporting the love of reading, because literacy is the key. تتوفر نسخ من تقرير بيزا دبي في البهو خارج القاعة، وسوف يتم توفير ورش عمل خاصة للمدارس لاحقا خلال هذا العام، ويمكننا جميعا أن نقدم الأفضل لبيزا 2015. Copies of Dubai PISA analysis report are available in the lobby, and workshops for schools will be held later during this academic year. We can do more together towards PISA 2015. let's talk a little bit about our partners. نتحدث قليلاً الآن عن شركائنا. يقدم شركائنا في المجتمع طيفاً واسعاً من الأنشطة التعليمية التي تستهدف الطلبة والمعلمين في دبي. ندعوكم للتعرف على مبادراتهم وعلى أنشطتهم التي يمكن أن يوفرونها لنا ولكم من خلال منصاتهم الموجودة في البهو خارج القاعة. Our partners in the community offer a wide range of educational activities for students and teachers in Dubai. Stop over and see them outside in the lobby for a chat and to find out more. وبناء على طلباتكم سيكون بيننا زملاء من مدارس دبي يقومون بالتمثيل المرئي للجلسات باستخدام طريقة الفيجوال هارفستينج التي نراها هنا على المنصة. وسيكون بوسعكم مشاهدة هذه الأعمال بعد اكتمالها في نهاية اليوم وتنزيل نسختها الإلكترونية لاحقاً من موقع الحدث الذي ذكرته سابقاً وهو www.whatworks.ae. Backed by popular demand, visual harvesters from across Dubai school will be graphically recording the sessions you will attend today. They will be displayed to you later today and will be also available throughout the WhatWork website, which is www.whatworks.ae. وطلب العديد من المديرين مساحة خاصة لهم للتعارف وبناء الشراكات. وبناء على ذلك ستقام لأول مرة جلسات ملتقى المديرين في تمام الساعة 10:45 وكذلك في تمام الساعة 22 في قاعة الطعام في الطابق الأرضي. Many principals have requested a space where they can meet each other and start long-term partnership. Our first ever principals playground sessions will run at 10:45 a.m. and 2:20 p.m. in the dining room on the ground floor. وهنالك مقولة تقول: ليس من الضرورة أن تكون عالماً حتى تحب العلوم. فسيقدم مهرجان سايفست جلسات خاصة باسم المقهى العلمي، وهي طريقة جديدة وجذابة لتعليم العلوم ومشاركة الطلاب أثناء الفصل، التي يمكنكم البدء باستخدامها أثناء تقديم حصصكم الدراسية. ستبدأ الجلسات في تمام الساعة 11:40 وكذلك جلسة أخرى في تمام الساعة 21:20 فلا تفوتوا الفرصة. You don't have to be a scientist to love science. Dubai Science Festival will be running special sessions of Café Scientific, an informal and engaging format for science learning and teaching that you can start using in your classrooms. Make sure to attend these sessions at 11:40 a.m. and 1:20 p.m. this afternoon. And now going to our social media presence. الآن ننتقل إلى تواجدنا في مواقع التواصل الاجتماعي. هل أنتم من محبي تويتر؟ إذا انضموا إلى نقاشاتنا وأرسلوا تغريداتكم حول محاضرات اليوم باستخدام الهاشتاغ WWDubai. كما يمكنكم متابعة نقاشاتنا عبر شاشات البث الحي في الطابق الأرضي وفي الطابق الثاني. ستصور جميع المحاضرات بالفيديو وسيتم تحميلها على قناة اليوتيوب الخاصة بالفعالية التي هي اسمها WhatWorks Dubai. كما نرحب دائما بمقترحاتكم وتعليقاتكم على المواد المعروضة. So, are you on Twitter? Join the conversation about today's presentations by using the hashtag WWDubai. Have a look at the screens downstairs on the second floor to see downstairs and on the second floor to see what your colleagues are tweeting about. All the sessions are filmed and will be uploaded to YouTube channel, which is WhatWorks Dubai after the event. And we are always welcome to have a look at your feedback and would love to hear from you more about what do you think of these sessions. وكما تعودنا في أحداث معا نرتقي سيتولى صناع الحدث من الطلبة المتطوعين مساعدتكم اليوم عبر إرشادكم إلى أماكن انعقاد الفعاليات والجلسات وتذكيركم بحضور الجلسات في الموعد المحدد. وعند حاجتكم لأي مساعدة انظروا حواليكم ولا تترددوا في سؤال الطلبة الذين يرتدون قمصانا عليها شعار دوار الشمس. شكر خاص لطلابنا المبدعين من المدرسة الهندية الثانوية ومن مدرسة التوحيد الإيرانية ومدرسة الخليج الهندية الثانوية ومدرسة الوحدة العربية لما يقدموه لنا من مساعدات في هذه الجلسة. What Works event wouldn't be the same without the event makers, who help us all with the directions around the center and make sure everyone gets to their session on time. If you need any help, look out for the guys wearing the sunflower t-shirts. Thank you to the wonderful students from the Indian High School, the Iranian School, Gulf Indian High School, and the Arab Unity School for the help that they provide us with. ويسعدنا الآن أول المتحدثين في هذا الصباح رايا بن شهري. رايا شابة شغوفة بالمعرفة عموما وبالعلوم والرياضيات خصوصا. تحدثكم اليوم رايا عن كيفية تشجيع الطلبة على الإقبال على تعلم الرياضيات والعلوم واستحضار المنظور الكوني لدى تعليمها ضمن الفصل الدراسي. فلنرحب جميعا برايا وترافقها زميلتها لارا روبرتس. Our first speaker this morning is Raya Bishari. Raya has a passion for knowledge and an even greater love for science and mathematics. Today, she will speak to you about how to enthuse students to learn maths and science and to bring a cosmetic
all these wires.
Eminent psychologist Nicholas Humphrey has written of the biological advantage of being awestruck. How fortuitous, he says, for a species to find that its own ability to contemplate, to marvel at its own existence, has been evolutionarily advantageous. In other words, it has been biologically selected for because it informs our life with a sense of cosmic significance that makes us work harder to persist and to survive. In other words, awe has helped us survive. And a recent study out of Stanford on the subject of awe kind of validates this idea. They have found that regular incidences of awe leave residual benefits upon the individual that persist, such as increased feelings of empathy and compassion towards others, increased feelings of altruism, and increased feelings of general well-being. In the study, they define awe as an experience of such perceptual expansion, such perceptual vastness, that you literally have to reconfigure, upgrade your mental schemata just to accommodate, just to take in the scale of the experience. This is amazing. We've all felt this before. The first time we stared upon the Grand Canyon or succumbed to the immersive power of an IMAX film. But perhaps the most exquisite account of the experience of awe was articulated by the brilliant Ross Anderson when writing about Hubble Space Telescope. Pay attention. He says that the Hubble has given us nothing less than an ontological awakening, a forceful reckoning of what is, allowing us to contemplate space and time on a scale just shy of infinite. Why? He says gazing upon the famous deep field photograph literally allows us to mainline the whole of time through the optic nerve. To fit something so impossibly large to something so impossibly small. Simply incredible. He says through the sheer aesthetic force of its discoveries, the Hubble distills the impossibly complex abstractions of astrophysics into these singular expressions of color and light, vindicating Keats' famous couplet, beauty is truth, truth, beauty.
When we take a cosmic perspective, science and maths are more than just subjects we learn in school. They are so much more significant than that. Science is more than just a body of facts. It is a method that offers us explanations on how the world works and solutions to the obstacles we are faced with. Even more, it is a way of thinking. And as for mathematics, it's more than just numbers and formula. It is without doubt the most universal and objective way with which we can study the world we live in. It is in essence the language of the universe. So if we were to ever come across alien intelligence, mathematics would be the ideal language to communicate with them. Do you not get it? Okay, let me explain. What do I mean when I talk about taking a cosmic perspective? Simply put, it is looking at ourselves from a much grander scale. It is going beyond our global perspective and realizing that our planet is simply a pale blue dot in a vast universe, 14 billion light years across. It is realizing that we don't simply live on Earth, but in the Milky Way galaxy. It is realizing that we don't simply live in the Milky Way galaxy, but in the universe. From such a scale, we can better appreciate our place in the grand scheme of things. The amazing thing about cosmology is that it's a field that combines both science and maths. Hence, in many ways, having a cosmic perspective encourages a greater appreciation of these two subjects. The problem, however, is that a lot of students don't realize this. A lot of students don't see maths and science in such a way. In schools, the two subjects are often taught as a collection of dull and tedious facts. There is a narrow focus on completing the syllabus rather than passing on the knowledge of those subjects. The stress often becomes on passing those exams rather than really acquiring knowledge about that subject. As a result, a vast majority of students are bored and simply learn the scientific facts without actually acquiring any love or understanding about science. Most of them blindly solve mathematical problems without really appreciating and understanding those true applications of mathematics. Most will never know that the very mathematical problems they're trying to solve can be used to explain the universe. Wake up, come on. Yes, wake up. To really get students excited about science and maths, we need to give them that cosmic perspective. We need to make learning these two subjects a fun and exciting experience. We need to make them want to learn it out of passion and not reluctance. How we do this has to be by catering to different learning styles and intelligences of students. Some may not necessarily be logical or mathematical thinkers, but are exceptional when it comes to sports or the arts. Yes, like you. Hence, often a challenge for teachers is to cater to these students and shape their lessons to cater to their needs as well. At the Winchester School, under the support of our principal, Mrs. Ranjo Anand, we've done many things to try to make learning these two subjects a fun and exciting experience. We've organized many events and extracurricular activities that take learning science and maths outside the rather boring classroom environment. Under the guidance of Mr. Roberts, we gathered a group of exceptionally proactive sixth form students, who then came to be known as the Sixth Reformers. Their aim was to make learning and school life exciting throughout the academic year. One of the first things that Sixth Reformers organized was an astronomy club, a club where 30 club members met once a week for workshop-style sessions. Once a week, these club members would learn about the wonders and mysteries of the universe. They would indulge themselves in debates, discussions, and fun activities. They would attend field trips to local planetariums and even movie screenings. We also had many observational trips to observe the Venus transition, moons of Saturn, and so much more. Wow, that's awesome. The astronomy club members then went on to organize an astronomy art exhibition. This was the first of its kind here in Dubai. The aim was to cater to the artistic students and at the same time use art as an excuse to spread the love of the cosmos. So talented young artists not only showcased their paintings, but they also educated the community. There were educational descriptions next to each painting, along with many other stuff such as book stalls and telescope viewings. Another initiative that the Sixth Reformers organized was the Google Science Fair Club, where the emphasis was not only to spread the love of science, but an understanding of the scientific method as well. Once again, in workshop-style sessions, students did various things and learned various scientific skills, such as writing journal-style papers, lab experimenting, and so much more. Yes, that's about right. Good job. So in contrast to their boring science lessons where they would simply mug up facts, students were encouraged to step in the shoes of real scientists and do actual science. The Google Science Fair Club members then went on to organize a Brain Awareness Week. Basically, this was a week that constituted of talks by experts, workshops, and many other fun activities. Students in school not only learned about the brain in general, but also how the brain learns best. Moreover, we went on to organize a TEDx event with the theme Ideas That Will Change the World. The aim was to give students a global platform in order to share their ideas on science and technology. You're a mime, you can't talk, remember? Sorry. Anyways, the 6 reformers then went on to organize an intelligent optimism initiative. This was basically constituted of workshops by the 6 reformers organized for both teachers and students. The aim was to get both teachers and students to be excited about the future and optimistic about the future in a scientific and rationally informed manner. We wanted to empower students and teachers both to be excited and ambitious about the future. All these ideas were then shared at the UNESCO Sciences Expo in Abu Dhabi. We conducted a survey as a study that proved to us that all these activities not only made school life more exciting, but at the same time gave students a much better understanding of science and maths. The next step for us is to celebrate these 2 subjects at a much larger scale at SciFest Dubai. We want to bring culture back into science and maths and make them fun through various activities such as debates, dance, theaters, art exhibitions, workshops, conferences, and so much more. We want to take science outside academic circles and put it into mainstream culture. But what can science teachers at schools do in order to make these subjects fun? What can science teachers do to inspire their students to really want to learn these subjects? Well, first of all, it helps to really get to know your students and find out their strengths. What is it that they already love doing? What is it that they're already good at? And how can the necessary cross-curricular links be made? Furthermore, I believe we have to go beyond the curriculum. In order to really make these 2 subjects fun and exciting, we have to go beyond the syllabus. The role of a teacher should not necessarily be only to prepare students for an exam, but also to pass on knowledge and understanding of that subject. In addition to that, students really need to know the true applications of science and maths. We not only have to teach them facts, but also how to think scientifically and mathematically. Furthermore, both students and teachers need to be empowered and aware of the scientific advancements and innovations that are happening in the field. This not only shows students the real significance of what they are learning, but empowers them to create and innovate themselves. Last but not least, students need to be given a global platform, a platform to showcase their talents and ideas. Whether it's a school assembly, TEDx events, SciFest Dubai, or even a KHDA conference, students need to be given that platform in order to share their talents. Ladies and gentlemen, all of these things don't require state-of-the-art facilities or lots of funds. What they do require are a group of motivated teachers and students willing to make a change. What they do require are passionate teachers like yourselves to step up and inspire their students. I have no doubt that if we put our minds into it, we can revolutionize the way science and technology are taught in school. Science and math are taught in school, sorry. Oh yeah, and one more thing that's missing from science is music. So before we leave, we'd like to leave you with a 2-minute video on Symphony of Science.
The act of moving onward means we patch these signposts. One of them was first He's a world, maybe there's life there. Change, I was thinking, I know,
The motes of dust suspended in a sunbeam, the pale blue dot.
onward to the edge, we're moving onward to the edge. Here we are together.
نشكر رايا وزميلتها على الكلمة الملهمة جدا. Thank you رايا for your inspiring speech. وتماشيا مع موضوع المنظور الكوني واستحضاره في الفصل، لدينا الآن خبر سعيد. توفر مجموعة دبي للفلك عرض خاص لجميع الحاضرين في هذا اليوم، بحيث ستجدون داخل الحقيبة المتواجدة لديكم بطاقة ذهبية، وتوفر لكم هذه البطاقة الذهبية مراقبة النجوم في يوم الجمعة 13 ديسمبر بشكل مجاني. فيمكنكم الحصول على هذه البطاقة من داخل الحقائب التي أعطيت لديكم من البوابة. هي بطاقة ذهبية توفرها لكم مجموعة دبي للفلك، ويمكنكم الذهاب يوم الجمعة إلى البر لمراقبة النجوم مساءً. Dubai Astronomy Group is with us today, and inside your packs you will find a magic golden ticket, which will entitle you to a free evening of stargazing in the desert on Friday 13th of December. So I would advise all of you to go and enjoy it. متحدثنا الثاني لهذا الصباح هو طبيب من بين 3 أطباء فقط، 3 أطباء بيطريين إماراتيين في دولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة، ومتحدث بارع في سلسلة تيدكس الشهيرة، وصوت بارز في التعليم وفي البيئة المحلية. فلنرحب جميعا بالدكتور ماجد القاسمي. Voice on local environments and education. Welcome Dr. Majid to the stage.
All right. Just before we get started, a little public service announcement. If you have a mobile that's still on, I know nobody mentioned anything before, but would you please put them on silent? I know when people are speaking or trying to focus, it gets really difficult when you're really curious about who's being called and what they want to say. So, first of all, Raya and, I'm sorry, the mime? Lara. Blew my mind. I'm sitting there, I was sweating. This was so exciting. I wish I was a student now. Okay, I couldn't even put a presentation together when I was at school, but thank you very much. That was really inspiring. I wanted to talk to you today about, well, what Raya covered, but I distilled it in my own way. But first, I want to tell you about, well, who I am, at least where I was at school here in the UAE. And I jumped around from a lot of schools. I was in Shuaifat in Sharjah. And then I was at Al-Qasimiyya, small school in Sharjah for a couple of years. Then I moved to Ittihad, the one in Mamza. I was there for 2 years. Then I moved back to Sharjah, and eventually I did my GCSEs and my International Baccalaureate at the Emirates International School in Dubai. And I actually have one of my former teachers here, Ms. Usman. Would you put your hands up, please? Wherever you are. Yeah, there she is here in the front. Yes, thank you. Yeah, I was not good at mathematics back then, so she's going, good for you. I wanted to become a veterinarian, and I only figured it out in the summer between my last 2 years. Now that's pretty late when what you have to do is have 3 sciences to apply. So what I had to do was then go for an extra year. I was at Dover-Brooks College in Oxford, and there they provide the A-levels in 1 year, and I did both physics and chemistry in a single year, to then apply with this jumble of subjects, and I got into Bristol University. I did my pre-med there. My preclinical years there. And then I transferred to Hungary, to St. Istvan University, and I did my doctorate of veterinary medicine there. And I came back in 2010 and started working at Al Ain Zoo, an awesome place to work. And as was said, I'm one of the only one of only 3 veterinarians. I'm the only practicing vet that's a national, and that still is the same today. It's very difficult to get people to take on the challenge of veterinary medicine, let alone those kind of out there subjects. Team caring for all the animals that we had there. I then moved in 2012 and I moved to the Environment Agency of Abu Dhabi, where I still am today. And there I care with another veterinarian, the 2 of us care for 20,000 animals, primarily Arabian oryx and extinct in the wild, the scimitar horned oryx. We have gazelle and a number of other gazelle species, but it's rough work. We're out in the field in very sort of remote areas. A bathroom is a luxury sometimes, and long hours. In fact, last Ramadan, I was up at 3 in the morning to get out to field just after the Fajr prayer and vaccinate animals in the numbers of 300 to 500 a day. So that was pretty taxing. But it's very rewarding work, especially when you know that you get to work outside, you get to work with your hands. And that's why I became a vet. It took me the long road to get there, but I've been very happy. Now, in 2012, I did a TEDx talk called The Want to Learn. That stems from a story. My grandfather, every summer while I was studying, used to say in German, "Wenn man was erreichen will, muss man es wollen." And that translated, if you want to achieve something, you must want it. And that stuck with me. It really ended up being a sort of motto that got me through veterinary medicine and through the challenges, as I found out midway through my degree that I actually have a sort of auditory dyslexia. So, I had to become very diligent in studying. Now, this was aimed at young nationals that were either at university or at school, and what I was trying to get to them was, if you want to, did you miss that announcement? What I was trying to get to them was, if you don't have this want, it's very critical, and it's really simple to say, but if you don't have the want to learn, a real deep desire to learn, I mean, Raya is a fountain of that want. If you don't have that want, it's going to be almost impossible to get through it. You'll just struggle and bear through. What I did in that talk was simply to explain that you have to nurture that want. Now, I'm not sitting here across from the students anymore. I'm sitting here with you, and it's quite an opportunity, and I had to think about, well, what works for you? Now, if you're going to think about your class, then this is usually what I remember from all those days at school, okay? When am I going to use this? And I'm not talking about your students that are sitting in biology, that know they want to study biology. I am actually talking about every student, but they will be in another class and they'll say, well, I'm not going to use this. Maths, please, not for me. I was doing the same in Miss Osman's class. I was sitting like, I don't really want to do this, and if they're not saying it to you, I've had some students say it to the teacher, they're saying it to each other or they're repeating it in their head. And I wanted to distill the one thing that needed to click in their mind, those students in your class, so that it worked, and that is to make it relevant. You have to make that class relevant to them. And if there's anything to be said about how to make things relevant to them, it's to speak of their future and to bring that future to them now. So, how are you going to make things relevant? Well, first of all, professions today rarely are silos. You never have a subject that studies itself. There are so many cross-pollinations and cross-disciplines. And I wanted to give you some examples. And this is my favorite example, if this will work. There we go. Statistics. Nobody wants to do statistics. And now the mathematicians are going. But statistics, you're not going to be able to do any hypothesis testing. So this is the basis of all science. But on top of that, we're doing social sciences, psychology. If you don't have a basis in statistics, you have no chance of proving your research. So the importance of a mathematics class, at least some basics for your psychology profession. Okay, somebody in social sciences going, I don't need the sciences, and then they end up at university and they go, look, here's your stats book, get on with it. That's quite a shock. Another example, and this is one's favorite of mine, is biomimicry. If you haven't looked at biomimicry, it's the idea that the natural world and nature and biology have in themselves solutions to engineering problems, to other sort of manufacturing problems. And this case in point here is shark skin. It has an antibacterial property simply from the structure of the surface. Now, engineers managed to manufacture something similar that mimicked this property and end up conferring this antibacterial property. What they ended up doing was applying this to medical instruments and so on and so forth. Now, on top of that, which is not on here, I know military technology has used the sharks move through the water quite gracefully, and what they do is they minimize drag by reducing turbulence, microturbulence in fact. And what happens is this skin gives a little and smooths out the water passage. And that same has been applied to submarines and ships. So again, the natural world. Now, if you're an engineer and you're not studying biology, well, you might miss out. And I'm not saying that you have to be a professional everything, but to understand and be able to discuss with other scientists their field, to have that vocabulary at hand. This actually is my workplace. No, it's not the desert. We're actually in a conference room. There's 12 people sat around this screen staring intently. Now, this workshop we did almost beginning of the year. And we had people from overseas, specialists on reintroduction of endangered species. Now, this screen actually is running software and mathematical algorithms to simulate small population growth over time. Now, we had these software specialists sitting with us, we had conservation specialists, and we were trying to deduce the minimum number of animals you need to reintroduce into a remote area for them to establish a population. Again, this was fascinating. I was sat in there, I was going, wow, I didn't realize you could do this. But this software is available to anybody who wants to download it and use it and establish conservation techniques. And you can go on tutorials. But again, if you're in conservation and you're thinking, well, I'm just going to throw them out there, we ended up deducing that we were looking at maybe 5 to 50 animals, somewhere in that. It ended up needing 500 animals. Now that totally changes the budget for our work, and it also changes the timeline for what we're going to be doing. So this kind of work is essential, and if we don't speak this language, we'll be lost at our job. Has anybody heard of additive manufacturing or 3D printers? Yeah, there's a couple people nodding their heads. This technology here is going to be applied to everything you know. And in this case here, it's fashion. So somebody in the fashion industry who wants to develop new mesh techniques, new material techniques, will be using this additive technology to create new materials for their fashion. And this is a really simple example I've put up here. There's some very, very dramatic, hold on, where's this going? There you go. There's some very dramatic techniques. Thank you, by the way, who pointed that out. So I can go all day and show you these examples and talk about this till the sun comes down. But I wanted to give you some examples of how to make something relevant to your students through our own experiences. So these were in the industry, and if you show this to somebody, they could that could go off in their head, and they can suddenly realize, well, actually, you know what? I do want to learn this, and this is relevant to my future. So this guy here, his name is Morgan, and I don't know if Miss Usman taught him at all. No, she didn't. Okay, he was at Emirates International School with me, and we shared the bus to school, and he was part of the neighborhood, and he's a good and dear friend. Now, in the 9th grade, he called me while I was at university, and we quite a few years between us. He said to me, he's like, Majid, I figured it out. And I said, what? He's like, I want to become a pilot. And I said, well, that's great. What do you need to become a pilot? Well, he said, I need to be really good at math. I need to be a great mathematician in my head. I said, what are you going to do about it? He's like, I'm going to really give it my all. And he took himself from the bottom of the class to the top 6% of his school because he wanted to be a pilot that bad. And that is the kind of example you could apply into your class. If you drop that, it's like a nectar. You just give it to them and suddenly they become somebody else. It becomes relevant to them. Another example here, and maybe Ms. Osman knows my brother Fahim. Now, Fahim is a gifted student, and, well, was a student. He is now working for the Executive Council in Abu Dhabi as a business analyst. But I can't remember which summer it was, but he was at summer school. Not because he needed it, but because he was teaching at summer school. He was teaching maths to kids 2 years older than him. And, you know, they were a bit boisterous and they weren't really paying attention. And he finally figured out, he said, guys, where is that going? What is this curve? And I've probably given it away already. But he drew this curve and everybody was like, oh, sir, it's a curve, sir, it's a curve. And he's like, okay, you got that far. So what does it represent? He said, okay, it represents the Burj Al Arab. And at the time, that was the most prestigious building here in the UAE, in Dubai. And it caught, thank you very much. Is this motion sensor or something? Sorry, this is not working out for me today. Here we go, I'm fighting with it now. Okay. Sorry, this is the problem when you gesticulate like an Italian. Or like an Arab, really. So, I'm just going to keep this hand really still. So what happened was, he showed them this picture. He drew the rest of the Burj Al Arab, not to this detail, but it caught their attention. And he had their attention for the rest of that summer school. They were focused, they were doing their work, and a lot of teachers were pretty impressed with my brother, including myself. Now, the last example I wanted to share with you is this. This is the courtyard at Dubai English Speaking College, I think. Anybody from that school here? No? Okay, well, there was this teacher at the college that I happened to do a talk with earlier on in the year. It was a Pecha Kucha talk in Suffolk Park, but she was talking about something called permaculture. Does anybody know permaculture? This is the use of biological systems and a lot of ecological principles in agriculture, or at least a type of agriculture. Now, she, with her students, decided to develop a permaculture setup in their school. And this very drab courtyard ended up like this. This is a beautiful, beautiful interactive piece of learning here. The students were involved with putting it together, building it, and they get to use it every day. But when you can bring that relevance to them into the class, or rather outside the class, that becomes essential. There's everyday connection to that. And they went out and they found sponsors, they spoke to his parents to help out, and I'm sure every establishment can get something up and running to bring relevance to their students. Now, I'm a future person, and this PowerPoint has just failed me today, but I want to talk to you about the Vision 2021 here. I know we won the Expo 2020, but right up until 2021, we hope to have these 4 tenets here in the UAE. Now, we've stated that we want to be united in responsibility, in destiny, in knowledge, and in prosperity. Sorry, my eyes are tired. But it's that third point that always gets me. United in knowledge. And here it states that we as a country should be united in knowledge, as a knowledge economy, to develop the nurturing and the respect for knowledge. And I believe that education and knowledge is the basis of all change. It's the basis of all development. You get your research, you get your economy, you get your intellectual property, all from the knowledge and from the education that you give. And in 2021, you will have students that are with you now joining this economy as contributing members. Now, the essential take-home message here is that you make their future relevant now. And this is just cut out, so that's cool. I'm just going to throw this away. The take-home message being, make the future relevant now. It's a lot to ask teachers to do everything for the student. And that's why that first talk happened. So you need to make their future relevant now, and you need to facilitate that want. Trigger that want, and the job will be a lot easier. Thank you very much. I don't know if I have time for Q&A. Do I? Yes? Okay. So any questions? I'm quite eager to answer if anybody has any. No, don't leave. No, I'm joking. Any questions? Don't be shy. I don't bite, and it's pretty far to bite. No? Okay. Well, listen, if I'm going to have these 2 minutes, I do want to tell you about one project that I'm doing, and I haven't had the opportunity to put it up because I wanted to be all professional. But I've started a project that's dear to my heart called The MENA Scientist. And if you go to the MENA, as in MENA, scientist.com, and if you don't get it, you can come around and get a card from me later. But if you go to that website, I've started essentially a chronicle, a journalistic website that will talk about all sorts of science and research and applied science in the MENA region. I read a lot of science journals and Wired magazine, and everybody's talking about what the West is doing and what the Far East is doing, but we have this big, big emptiness out here. Here amongst ourselves, we're sharing, and I think that's essential to the future. But if we're not sharing with the rest of the MENA region, we will not reach the capacity I believe we're capable of, which was actually already achieved back in the golden age of the Islamic Renaissance. So I believe we can get there again. And if you join me on themenascientist.com and share stories, and by the way, I'm looking for contributors, students as well as teachers. Share your passion, share your knowledge. It's very easy, it works on your mobile phone. Thank you very much for your attention, and I hope I haven't dragged on too far. Thank you.
على حديثه الملهم. Thank you very much Dr. ماجد القاسمي for your inspiring speech. والآن نرحب بالدكتور عبد الله الكرم مدير عام هيئة المعرفة والتنمية البشرية ليلقى كلمته. And now we welcome Dr. Abdullah Al-Karam, the Director General of KHDA, to the stage to give his speech.
I have to put two of them, so you'll have to hear it twice. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good morning. Thank you, Dr. Majid. I think I thought the first one was hard to follow, and there was the other one, and there was the first one. It's given me a great pleasure to be here with you today, and I really feel very inspired this morning. I was really very inspired this morning when I walked into the conference facility, because I saw those kids from Al-Ittihad school. And it's a very nice view, because all of them were glued to the big glass window. They all were so glued, so hard. And I went and asked them, what are you guys looking at? Do you want to know what the answer? Big swimming pool. And I asked him, so you want to get there? I said, yeah. One of them actually smiled, said, hang on, but how deep is that swimming pool? So if you are missing them somehow today, you know you're going to find them. They're out there by the pool. So I really thank them, and that was really inspiring. I think Raya and Lara, right? Yeah, that's one, right? I'm going to get you to speak by the end of the day. I think it was really fun, and it's really interesting, and I really see your inspiration for that. And and I think you have a big message and mission to do out there for the other kids. So thank you for being here this morning, Dr. Majid. I think this was inspiring, and I was just telling that to Ashok. We'll be getting one of young nationals for every session we have awards, and you guys just getting better, So somehow we feel a little bit old and being able to follow those kids. It's really good, and it's good to be here again and see everyone here. I'm very privileged to be here, not because I'm, I think, the only guy who get invited to speak in the same auditorium for the last 7 what works. But every time I go back and say, what would I say? They said, okay, you can say the same thing, because the audience changes every time. But there are some repeat audience here. I know they passed the exam the first time, but they still come back again. And I really want to re-emphasize and give our deep appreciation and thanks to everybody who puts together the events, the principal of the school, the audience, the teachers who take the time and come here and share and be energized, and I think look at what can we do all better. I think also on the same line, I would like to thank all the teachers in the schools for the last week or two festivals. As you know, we celebrate our 42 years of the United Arab Emirates, and it's really good to see, because when you see all these schools and see the celebrations out there, you see how strong and united we are, and I think this is really good for us to see. And at the same time, I would like to, since Majid spoke about it, congratulations to everyone about the Expo 2020. And I think, you know, I've talked to many of the schools, and everybody's very eager to get on and do something about it. And I think, you know, there has been a lot of work for the last 18 months, and the team has relentlessly been working, but mainly working externally, trying to get the bed, and that's a job itself. I think now for the next 6 to 7 years, I say that, and I really mean it when I say it. I think, and maybe not for the kids, because they might have another run at this, but for most of us in this room, I think the next 6 to 7 years will be one of a lifetime experience. And I think the whole preparation, the whole planning for Expo 2020 that will take place in UAE and in Dubai, with every school, with every mall, with every parent, with every kid, it will be once in a lifetime experience. Kids, they might get another run at later, 50 years later, maybe, somewhere, somehow, in the planet Earth. But I think we need to really cherish that experience, keep it too close to heart. And I think it's very, very important, because you cannot think of a better theme than connecting mind, creating the future. This is what the city, this is what the country is built on. This is actually what works built on, if you think about it. We are here, we're trying to connect the minds, we're trying to connect the positiveness, we're trying to find what works for you and give that to the others. And I think for us to do that, and my takeaway today is, very often in what works, I see some of the sessions, and we're always trying to look for what are the best practices going in one school. And this is really good, and it's been working very well for us. But I think with the Expo 2020, I think we have to change that. I think we have to graduate ourselves from finding the best practice to finding what is actually the next practice. Because what is the best practice will only gonna get you second, third, fourth to somebody. At the best, you're gonna be second to somebody. I think the opportunity we have in our 6, 7 years to come, and having the diversity of the school, I think we have to shift the gear of what works. We really have to say, what would be the next practice? Only then we're gonna get those numbers to pass the 500 marks in TIMSS and PISA and PIRS. And I think this is my message for you to carry through the day and the rest of what works. Before I step down, I made a promise to somebody this morning, and I have to fill my promise, and I think we're good in time for a change. This morning when I was walking in, a person stopped me and asked me a question, which actually, I don't think I was asked that question before. I mean, I shared the story with some colleagues around the room, but I haven't had the question asked to me, and I promised that person I would share the answer to that question with the audience. Story as follows: I was walking from the car park into it, and somebody stopped me, and it's not very hard to find people wearing this clothes, you know, you can spot you from miles away. And the person asked me a question about why did I park all the way to the end of the car park and walk down? And it's something that I did not invent. It's something I experienced, and I enjoyed the experience, and I want to share it with you. Very many years ago, I went to visit Japan. And part of my visit is actually to go and see this manufacturing. So it's a big warehouse manufacturing with a huge car park in the middle of nowhere. So the guy picks me up, drives me there, drives nice, and park at the end of the car park. It's beautiful weather, nice, so we just walk in. Second day, I go the same thing, and drives back to the other end of the car park. And we walk in. And the third day, it was different. And I was so interested to know what he will do. Because that morning you wake up and it's raining, and it's stormy, and it's really cold actually. So I was wondering what he's gonna do. Same happened, the guy drives into the car park. You have to get up. I said, no. You can't tell me now, for the last 2 days we parked here because the weather is nice and sunny. Can't enjoy it. Today is rainy, it's stormy, it's cold. Why would you do it? His simple answer was, we arrived early. So we should park at the end. What about the space in the front? He said, these are reserved for those people who are coming late. They must have a very good reason for them to come late. And the last thing we want to do is to delay them from getting the job done. So let's get out there and get the job done with that benevolent factor. Thank you.
شكرا لهذه القاعة. تستأنف ورش العمل في تمام الساعة 10:45 دقيقة في الغرف المخصصة لورش العمل في الطابق الثاني وفي هذه القاعة. أتمنى لكم يوما ممتعا ومثمرا.